Do you want to learn how to become a real estate photographer? Check out my course, How to Become a Real Estate Photographer, at rickmcavoyphotography.com. Over 221 episodes, thousands of tips, and hundreds of hours of content. Today, I've distilled everything down to the most important photography tips I've ever shared. This is the episode you'll want to bookmark, hopefully. Here's the thing about doing a podcast for over 221 episodes. You accumulate a lot of advice. Some of it's specific, how to photograph buildings, how to use a polarizing filter, how to set up your Lightroom catalogue. But some tips, they're universal. They work for everyone, regardless of what you photograph or what gear you use. Today's episode is different. Instead of diving deep into one topic, which is what I normally do, we're going wide. I've gone back through every single episode and pulled out the most essential, most powerful, most immediately useful tips I've ever shared. These are the tips that listeners tell me changed their photography. The ones that work, whether you're using a professional camera or your phone. The ones that apply to landscapes, portraits, street photography, and everything in between. And before I go on, do you want more photography guidance? Well, check out my brand new Photography for Beginners hub page for comprehensive guides on camera settings, composition, and much, much more. If you're new to the podcast, where have you been? Just kidding. This is your crash course. If you've been listening from the start, this is your refresher. Either way, by the end of this episode, you'll have actionable tips that will immediately improve your photography. No fluff, no filler, just the best of the best. Hello and welcome to episode 222, blimey, of the Photography Explained podcast. This episode is titled The Best of the Photography Explained podcast, 29 essential photography tips that actually matter. Yes, really, there's 29 of them. It was meant to be 20. A very good morning, a very good afternoon, or indeed a very good evening to you, wherever you are in the world, and whatever time of day you find yourself listening to me. You're very welcome. I'm your host, Rick. Hi. And in each episode, I try to explain one photographic thing to you in plain English in less than 27 minutes-ish, without the irrelevant details. Yes, really. I'm a professionally qualified photographer based in England with a lifetime of photographic experience, which I share with you in my splendid podcast, How Utterly Splendid. Right, I'm going to get straight into this. Tip 1, use my one photo rule. Here's my one photo rule, possibly the most important thing I'll tell you today. Approach every scene as if you can only get one shot, one photo, one frame. So you've got to make it count, haven't you? This forces you to slow down, and I mean really slow down. It makes you think about your composition. It makes you check your settings, wait for the right moment, consider the light. Look at the background, make sure everything in the frame deserves to be there. Now, most people, me included, take dozens of near-identical photos and hope one turns out well. That's not photography, dear listeners. That's hoping. Real photography is being deliberate. It's being intentional about every single photo that you take. Try this tomorrow. Only allow yourself one photo of each subject. Just one. You may well be shocked at how much more careful you become. You'll check your focus, you'll wait for someone to move out of the frame, you'll adjust your position to get the best angle, you'll actually think before you press the shutter. And here's what also happens. Your one photo will be better than the best of your usual 20, 30, 40, 50, whatever, nearly identical shots. Because you put thought into it. Because you made it count. Now, this doesn't mean you can't take multiple photos of a scene. Sometimes you want to bracket exposures, sometimes you want to capture different things. That's all good. But approach each one as if it's the only one you're going to get. That mindset shift, it changes everything. And the related episode, and I will mention a few during this episode, is episode 220. But remember this is what we used to do in the days of film photography. Yes, in the dark ages, before digital was even a word. We used to take one photo, because every photo cost money. Tip 2, take fewer photos overall. I know this follows directly on from the one photo rule, but I'm just going to broaden it out a little bit here, which I hope's okay. Stop filling memory cards with thousands of mediocre images. Take fewer photos, but make each one matter. Quality over quantity isn't just a saying, it's how good photography actually works. Professional photographers don't take more photos than amateurs. They take fewer, but better ones. When you take fewer photographs, several things happen. First, you become more selective about what you photograph, and that takes us into the one photo rule. Not everything deserves a photo. Not everything deserves a photo, remember that. Second, you spend more time on each image getting it right. Third, you actually look at and edit the photos you do take, rather than letting thousands sit unwatched on a hard drive, much like that half-eaten cheese and pickle sandwich you meant to finish at lunch. I'm sorry. Here's a practical target. Next time you go out with your camera, set yourself a limit. 50 photos maximum, 20, 3, 1, whatever number makes you think carefully about each frame. This artificial constraint forces better photography. And you can tie this in with the one photo rule. And we've got a related episode. Check out my website for more on episode 214. And when you get home, you won't have a few hundred photos to look at, will you? You'll have 50, you'll have 20, 3, 1, whatever. And you'll actually edit them. You'll learn from them. You'll know which ones work and which ones don't, because you haven't drowned yourself in quantity. Less is more, dear listener. Less is more, always. Tip 3, my photography superpowers, walking, looking and thinking. Forget expensive gear and fancy techniques. The 3 most powerful tools you have as a photographer are completely free. And yes, they are, walking, looking and thinking. Well, 4 if you count a good cheese and pickle sandwich for energy, but let's focus on the first 3. Walking, don't just stand in one spot and shoot. Move, walk around your subject, get closer, step back, move left, move right, up, down, whatever. Walk up that hill to see the view from higher up. Walk down to the water's edge. Every step changes your perspective and potentially reveals a better photograph. The best position for your photograph is rarely the first place you stopped. Professional photographers don't take better photos because they have better gear. They take better photos because they've walked around and found the best position, the best composition. Right, that was walking described in case you needed it. Looking. Actually look at what you're photographing. Don't just glance and shoot. Look at the edges of your frame. Look at the background. Look for distractions. Look for interesting details. Look at how the light falls on your subject. Most people see something interesting and they just take a photograph of it. Photographers look first. They study the scene. They notice things. Things like a telegraph pole sticking out of someone's head or a TV aerial sticking out of a roof. You can move to get rid of these things. Or a person about to walk into the frame. Just wait, let them pass. Looking comes before shooting. Right, thinking. Think about what you're doing. Why are you taking this photo? What's the subject? What's the story? What are you trying to capture and how can you do it better? Think about your settings. Think about your composition. Think about whether this is actually a good photograph or just something vaguely interesting. Think about whether you should even take this photo or whether you should just walk away and find something more interesting or a better view of what it was you were going to take a photograph of. So yes, walking, looking and thinking. These are your photography superpowers and the mine. Use them before every single photograph and your photography will hopefully improve dramatically. Tip 4, think before you take a photo. This deserves its own tip because it's so important. Yes, I've covered this before, but this really is important. Check out episode 216 for a bit more on this. So what are you thinking? What am I photographing? Why am I photographing it? What am I trying to show or say? How can I best show it? What settings do I need? Where should I position myself? What's the light doing? What's in the background? These questions take seconds to ask yourself, but they can make the difference between a thoughtless snapshot and a considered photograph. Most bad photos happen because people just didn't think first. They saw something, pointed the camera at it, and they took the photo. No thought, no consideration, just reaction. Now, of course, that's fine for holiday snapshots, but if you want to improve your photography, you need to engage your brain before you shut a finger. Snappy one, Rick. Make thinking your habit. Every time you raise your camera, pause for 2 seconds and ask yourself, what am I actually photographing here, and how can I photograph it to the best of my ability? That tiny pause and those simple questions will transform your photography. Now, if you feel that I've spent a lot of time talking about thinking and looking, you're right, because it is such a fundamental part of photography, and one that, in my opinion, we don't talk about enough. Tip 5. No one cares about your gear, your camera settings, any of that stuff. Now, this might sting a bit, this truth. No one cares what camera you used. No one cares what lens. No one cares about your camera settings, apart from other photographers. And guess what? You're not taking photos for other photographers, are you? Well, I'm not. Your family looking at your holiday photos, they don't care that you shot at f5.6 1/250th of a second at ISO 400. They care whether it's a good photo or not, whether it captures the moment, whether it makes them feel something. And the same applies to your clients if you're a professional photographer. They care about the final image. Does it show the property well? Does it make them look good? Does it tell the story? Is it what they're paying you for? They probably couldn't give a stuff what gear you used or what your camera settings are. Now, as disappointing as this is also liberating. Stop obsessing about gear. Stop pixel peeping. Stop worrying about whether you should upgrade your camera. Instead, focus on taking better photos with what you've got right now. Good photography is about seeing, composing, timing and light. It's not about equipment specifications. Some of the most powerful photographs ever taken were made with basic equipment. Some of the most boring photographs were taken with equipment costing thousands of pounds. Your camera is just a tool. Learn how to use that tool well. Then don't think about it too much. Focus on creating the best photos that you can. And check out episode 215, which is related to this. Tip 6, forget the exposure triangle. I know this is controversial, but here's my honest opinion. Don't worry about the exposure triangle. Most photographers never think about it once they've learned the camera settings. Now, the exposure triangle, ISO, aperture, shutter speed, and how they relate to each other. For me, it's a teaching concept. It's useful for understanding how settings relate, but in real photography terms, no one's standing there thinking, yes, the exposure triangle. I can't remember when I last consciously thought about the exposure triangle. Instead, learn what each setting actually does. Aperture controls depth of field, what's sharp, what's blurry, that good stuff. Shutter speed controls motion, frozen or blurred. ISO changes the brightness of a photo. It does not change the sensitivity of a camera sensor. Controversial, but true. More on that in another episode. Move on, Rick. Learn those 3 things individually. Practice them. Understand when you need shallow depth of field versus deep depth of field. Understand when you need a fast shutter speed or a slow shutter speed. And episode 211 gives you some more good stuff on this. The exposure triangle concept makes things sound more complicated than they are. This is not complicated. You're just controlling 3 camera settings based on what you need to take a photograph. That's it. And for me, one of them I'm not changing, so I've only got aperture and shutter. Let's not overcomplicate this, eh? Tip 7. Use the lowest ISO for the sharpest photos. Here's a simple rule that will improve your image quality immediately. Use the lowest ISO you can get away with. Yep, use the ISO your camera was designed to take photos with. This is the base or native ISO, and it's often ISO 100, possibly 200 in a more modern camera. More modern than I've got anyway. Your camera sensor's sensitivity to light is actually fixed. Increasing the ISO simply amplifies the signal, and with that amplification comes more digital noise. And that's that grainy, speckled look that degrades your image quality and reduces sharpness. Lower ISOs give cleaner, sharper images with less digital noise. So use the lowest ISO your shooting conditions allow. Now, if you're outdoors in good light, ISO 100 should be fine. Indoors with decent window light, ISO 400. Dark church interior, you might need 3200. But always start low and only increase the ISO when you need to, when your shutter speed is getting too slow to get a sharp photo handheld. Now, it's true that modern cameras handle high ISO much better than old ones like mine, but lower ISO still always looks better. It's cleaner, it's sharper, it's more professional. And it's one of the quickest wins in photography, keeping your ISO as low as possible. I'll come on to tripods in a bit, I think. Tip 8. Learn how to use manual mode. Aperture priority is fine. Shutter priority has its place. Auto mode and program mode, they're fine for snapshots or when you can't be bothered using something more complicated. But, dear listener, you should learn manual mode because you'll never know when you're going to need it. Manual mode gives you control over everything: aperture, shutter speed and ISO. The camera doesn't make any exposure decisions for you. You do it all. So why does this matter? Well, automatic modes can get confused. Bright backlight, your camera might underexpose your subject. Lots of white snow? I wish. Your camera might make it grey. Stage lighting, your camera will struggle. And for me, I have on more than one occasion tried to photograph a dark steel column against a bright sky, and it's a challenge beyond the auto modes. In manual mode, you make the decisions, you control the exposure exactly how you want it. You're not fighting your camera's attempts to help you. Learning manual mode also teaches you how your camera actually works and how the settings work and how those things relate. Yes, aperture, shutter and ISO, because you're actively making those decisions every time you shoot. So yes, the exposure triangle does come in here a little bit. Start by shooting manual mode during the day outdoors where light's consistent. Get comfortable with it. Then try it in more challenging conditions. Eventually, manual mode becomes second nature and you'll have complete creative control over your exposures. Episode 220, related again. Not sure about that. Check it out anyway, it's probably dead good. Now, you don't have to use manual mode all the time. I certainly don't. But knowing how to use it means you're never stuck when automatic modes fail you, when you're in challenging conditions. And you never know, you might enjoy manual mode so much you use it all the time. And if you do, good luck to you. That wasn't in any kind of patronising way, by the way. Tip 9. Get a portfolio of your best 12 photos. 12 photos. Yep, that's your portfolio. Not 1,000, not 50, 12. And you can check out my portfolios at rickmcavoyphotography.com/portfolio. And you'll find each portfolio has 12 photos in it. There you go. Go through all your photos, every single one you've ever taken, if you can be bothered, and pick your 12 absolute best photos, the 12 you're most proud of, the 12 that best represent you and your photography, the 12 that make you think, yep, I took that and I love it. Now, this is not easy. This is really not easy. It's like choosing between cheese and pickle on white bread or brown bread, isn't it? But much more important. Having a portfolio forces you to be honest about your work. It forces you to identify what you do well and what works in your photography. And it's a starting point that other people can judge your photographic abilities from. Those 12 photos will become your benchmark. And then, once you've got those 12, every new photo you take, you're asking yourself this question: will this photo be good enough to replace one of the 12 in my portfolio? And if it's not, why not? What's missing? It gives you a target. You're not just taking photos aimlessly. You're trying to take photos good enough for your portfolio. And that focus improves your photography dramatically. Review your portfolio regularly, maybe monthly, maybe quarterly, annually if you want. As you improve, photos that once seemed amazing might not make the cut anymore. That's called progress and it's fine. So, 12 photos, curate them, share them, be proud of them, love them. Use them as your standard. Yes, love them, why not? Tip 10, get a critique of your photos, but not from friends or family. Now, your mum probably thinks your photos are brilliant. Well, I hope she does. Or your dad. Your partner says they're lovely. Your friends give you encouragement. That's nice, but it's no good for improvement, is it? No, you need an honest critique. Not harsh and mean, honest. Someone who will really tell you how good or bad your photos are. Someone who'll tell you when your composition isn't working, when your subject matter isn't clear, when your editing's gone too far, when a photo simply isn't as good as you think it is, and when a photo's rubbish, but not using that particular word necessarily. No, friends and family won't tell you this because they don't want to hurt your feelings, and they might not know any better, which isn't a criticism. They'll tell you your photos are great even when they're not. I know it's kind, but it doesn't help you improve, does it? Find someone who knows about this stuff to critique your photos, someone whose opinion and expertise you trust and value. Pay someone if you have to. This is money well spent, and it will improve your photography. And the best critique will be specific. The composition's unbalanced, the subject isn't clear, the editing's overdone, rather than, I just don't like that. No, things like, here's what isn't working and why. That's what you're going to get from a proper critique. So get your critique, listen to it, learn from it. Don't ignore what you're told. You've got to accept it on face value, take it on the chin. It's not easy. I've been there. But your photography will improve faster with honest feedback than it ever will with endless encouragement from people who love you who don't really know any better. I did this, I got a critique, and it was the best thing that I've ever done. My first professional critique made me realise something. I was nowhere near as good as I thought I was. Nowhere near as good as I thought I was. And I learned why and what I needed to do, and that was the springboard for me getting to where I am now. There you go. Give you something to aim for. Tip 11. Learn from other photographers and yourself. Look at other photographers' work. Study it. What makes the photos work? How do they compose? How do they use light? What's their style? This isn't copying, it's learning. Look at the masters of photography. Look at contemporary photographers whose work you admire. Look at photographers who take photographs of what you take photographs of. Analyse their work. Break down what makes it successful. But here's the thing, you also need to learn from yourself. Review your own photos, and I mean, look at them properly. Really look at them, analyse them. What works in a photo? Why is one photo better than another one? What's the difference? Your photos contain lessons. Every successful photo teaches you something about what works. Every failed photo teaches you what to avoid. But only if you actually look at them critically and learn from them honestly and openly. Keep a folder of your best photos. That's more than your 12 in your portfolio. That's your best stuff. Review it regularly. After 6 months, you'll see patterns. You'll notice what you do well consistently. You'll spot recurring weaknesses, and that knowledge is absolute gold for improvement. So learn from others, learn from yourself. Both are essential. Tip 12, use the rule of thirds. Getting on to some good practical stuff now. Turn on your camera's grid, if you got one. The thing that gives you those lines that divide your screen into 9 sections. That's the rule of thirds grid. Instead of putting your subject dead centre, place it on one of those lines or where 2 lines meet. For portraits, put the person's eye on an intersection point. For landscapes, put the horizon on one of the horizontal lines. Lower third for interesting skies, upper third for interesting foregrounds. Check out episode 221 for lots more on this. This simple change makes your photos instantly more professional and balanced. Centre composition can work, but it can be static. Rule of thirds creates dynamic, interesting composition with minimal effort. Now, the rule of thirds is not a rule, it's a guideline. You can break it when you've got good reason, or if you just don't want to use it. But it works so consistently that it could be your default approach. It's mine after all. If you're not sure how to compose something, using the rule of thirds can help you. It can give you a great starting point. And it's right far more often than it's wrong. So practice this deliberately until it becomes automatic. Eventually you won't need the grid. You'll compose using the rule of thirds instinctively. But you can keep the grid if you want. It's fine. I do. Just saying. Tip 13. Use leading lines. Lines guide your viewer's eye through an image. Roads, paths, rivers, fences, walls, even shadows. These lines lead the eye from the foreground into the middle ground and background, creating depth and drawing attention to your subject. Check out episode 214 for more on this. When you see a line in real life, ask yourself, where does this lead? Can I use it in a photo? Position yourself so the line leads towards your main subject. And diagonal lines are especially powerful because they create energy and movement. And this works in any type of photography. Landscapes, a path leading into the distance. Architecture, converging vertical lines on a building. Portraits, the angle of an arm or the direction of a gaze. Yes, really. Leading lines are everywhere once you start looking for them. So train yourself to spot them. Use them deliberately. They're one of the easiest composition techniques to apply and one of the most effective. Tip 14, create depth in your photos. The world's three-dimensional, isn't it? But photos aren't. Photos are 2D, photos are flat. So to create depth, you need layers, you need a foreground, you need middle ground, you need a background. So find something interesting to put in the foreground. Flowers, rocks, a fence, branches, anything that creates a layer between you and your main subject, or that is your main subject. This is especially important in landscape photography, well, certain types of landscape photography, where the difference between a snapshot and a stunning landscape can be down to having an interesting foreground or not. A foreground that gives an image depth, scale and interest. But you can apply it to any other genre too. It just depends what you're taking photographs of. It's always something to think about. And episode 212 gives you more on this. So train yourself to look for foreground interest. Move around until you find something to include. Your photos will instantly feel more professional and three-dimensional. Tip 15, nice quick one. Simplify by removing distractions. Your eye can ignore distractions like that bin in the corner. Your brain can filter it out so it doesn't bother you. But the camera captures everything it sees and suddenly that bin can dominate your photo. So before you press the shutter, check the edges of your frame. What's lurking there? Is there anything distracting? A telegraph pole, bright sign, TV aerial, random person, dog, cat, cheese sandwich? Move yourself, recompose or wait for the distraction to leave. Don't rely on removing it later in Photoshop. That's just being lazy. And it takes more time, ironically. Professional photographers are ruthless about eliminating anything that doesn't add to the photo. Less is more. And while you're simplifying, you can use negative space, which is large open areas, which can give a subject room to breathe and draw attention to what matters. So ask yourself, what is the photo about? Everything in that photo should support the subject, and if it doesn't, it shouldn't be in there, should it? So simplify ruthlessly, and you will create stronger photos. Tip 16, shoot in RAW format. If you're serious about editing your photos, shoot in RAW. RAW files contain all the data your camera sensor captures. JPEGs discard some of it because they're processed and compressed at the point of image capture. Check out episode 194 for more on this. Now, this does matter with editing. With RAW, you can recover more of the blown highlights, you can lift more of crushed shadows, and you can adjust the white balance more quickly without degrading the image. With JPEG images, you've got less flexibility, you've got less data, you've got editing already done in camera that you didn't do. I don't want that. I want to make every editing decision with every photo that I take, and that's why I use RAW. Now, I know RAW files are bigger, I know they require specialist editing software, but there is a quality difference which is worth the sacrifices. And if you're editing photos anyway, why wouldn't you do it in RAW? Most professional photographers shoot in RAW, and there's a reason for that. The flexibility and quality are well worth the extra file size. Tip 17, use a grey card for accurate colours. Yes, a bit of gear, and it's a grey card. Here's a simple tool that helps get white balance bang on. It's literally just a piece of card that's grey, and it's 18% grey. That's neutral with no colour cast. Take a photo with the grey card in the scene in the same light as your main subject. Then take another photo without the grey card, and that's your actual shot. When you're editing, use the grey card photo to get an accurate white balance. Then you can just copy and paste that correct white balance to your photo without the card in, and voila, white balance done, literally. Great, isn't it? Grey cards are cheap. a few quid. Well, less than 20 quid, $20, €20. And of course, they're small enough to keep in your camera bag. And they help you get the correct white balance quickly and easily without worrying or faffing when you're taking photos. Even if you're not obsessive about perfect colours, a grey card gives you a reliable reference point. It takes guesswork out of white balance, which means less time fiddling in editing and much more consistent results. Episode 178. Check that one out for a bit more on grey cards. One last thing on grey cards. It's probably not a card anymore. It's probably something else, but it will definitely be grey. There used to be cards that were grey back in the day. Tip 18. Use your histogram. Yes, that graph on the back of your camera. What's that? Well, that's your histogram, and it's more useful than the LCD preview screen. Well, it is for getting the exposure right anyway. The histogram shows you the tonal distribution of your image. Shadows on the left, midtones in the middle, highlights on the right. A good exposure has information across the histogram without clipping either end. If the graph is bunched up on the left, you're underexposed. Bunched up on the right, overexposed. Clipped off the edges, you've lost detail in the shadows or the highlights. Learn to read your histogram. It's objective data about your exposure, while the LCD screen can be misleading depending on how bright your surroundings are, how bright your screen is, and all that good stuff. So check your histogram after important shots, and if you're clipping highlights or shadows, adjust and reshoot. The histogram gives you the truth about your exposure, about your brightness levels. Better to get it sorted in camera than try and fix it later, which is never a good strategy. And episode 164 is all about histograms, so check that one out if you want to know more. Tip 19. Find your lens sweet spot. Every lens has a sweet spot, an aperture where it performs best. Usually it's about 2 stops down from wide open, so if your lens opens to f2.8, the sweet spot is probably around f5.6. And if it's a maximum aperture of f4, you could try f8. It's 2 or 3 stops probably, before somebody gets in touch who says mine's 4 stops from maximum. At the sweet spot, your lens is sharpest with the best contrast and the minimal aberrations and errors. Wide open, most lenses are softer, especially at the edges. Stop down too far, you can get diffraction, which reduces sharpness. You can find your lens sweet spot by testing. Take the same shot at different apertures, review them on your computer at 100%, and you'll see where the errors are and where your lens performs the best. Or you could just do an internet search and find out that way. Once you know your sweet spot, use it whenever maximum sharpness matters and depth of field requirements allow. This is especially important for landscape and architectural photography where sharpness throughout the frame matters. And episode 179 gives you some more good stuff on this. Your lens sweet spot gives you the best image quality your lens is capable of, so use it. Tip 20. Photograph things you're actually interested in. Sounds obvious, doesn't it? But maybe not so much. Too many people, in my opinion, photograph what they think they should photograph, or what gets likes on Instagram, or what other photographers seem to be doing at the moment. Now, that can be a recipe for boring photography and photographer burnout. Photograph what interests you, what makes you excited, what makes you want to grab your camera. It doesn't matter if it's popular or cool or trendy. If you're generally interested in your subject, that enthusiasm shows in your photos. Your photography will be better, more authentic and more sustainable if you're photographing things you actually care about. Passion is visible in photographs, as is obligation. Blimey, that was a bit deep, wasn't it? Episode 187 is a good one for that. Don't photograph landscapes just because you think you should do. Don't shoot portraits because everybody else does. Photograph what interests you and your photography will be stronger for it, and you'll enjoy it more. Tip 21. Only edit photos you're going to use. Stop editing every photo you take. It's a waste of time. Instead, be selective. Look through your photos. Mark the good ones, the ones you'll actually share, print, use, keep, do something with. And only edit those. Most photos you take, they might not be worth editing anyway. They're not necessarily bad, but they might not be special either. And if you're not going to do anything with them, what's the point? They're just there. Don't spend time editing them. Check out episode 99, which is specifically about this. Professional photographers don't edit every photo. They cull ruthlessly, keeping only the best, and then they edit only what they're going to use. This isn't wasteful, this is efficient, this is professional, and it's easy for anybody to replicate. Your time, dear listener, is valuable. Spend it editing photos that matter, not mediocre shots you'll never look at again. On that subject, tip 22, delete the rubbish. Delete bad photos, blurry shots, obvious mistakes, test shots, photos where someone blinked, someone walked in front of you, that series of near identical images where only one's good. Delete the rest. Keeping rubbish photos serves no purpose. They clog up your hard drive, they make it harder to find good photos, they waste backup space. They're just digital clutter. Be ruthless. If a photo's rubbish, delete it. You're not going to fix it later. You're not going to use it someday. And you're not going to miss it anyway. It's just taking up space. And let's not forget, a rubbish photo will always be a rubbish photo. This culling should happen regularly. Ideally, delete obvious failures immediately after a shoot. Then do a proper cull when you're reviewing the full set. Keep only what's genuinely worth keeping. Your photo library should only contain photos you're happy to keep and do something with. Everything else is just clutter. Tip 23, back up your photos in 3 places. I cannot stress this enough. Back up your photos, not just once, at least 3 times with one copy in a different physical location. Hard drives fail, computers get stolen, memory cards corrupt. If you're not backing up your photos, there's a chance you're going to lose them at some point, a very good chance. This is my system. Photos live on my PC. They get backed up to an external hard drive automatically and are constantly backed up to cloud storage. That's 3 copies in 3 locations. It's not paranoia, it's professionalism. Yes, 3 copies of your data on 2 different types of storage media with 1 copy off-site. Follow this rule and your photos will always be safe. Losing years of photos because you didn't back them up properly, that's going to be heartbreaking, isn't it? And it's completely preventable. Set up automatic backups today, right now, before you read the next tip. Oh, okay, after you've finished this most excellent episode, which will be a while yet. Tip 24, look after your gear. Camera gear, it's expensive. Look after it properly and it'll last decades. Neglect it, and you'll be buying replacements far sooner than necessary. Keep your gear clean. Sensor spots ruin photos. Get your sensor cleaned regularly or learn to do it yourself. Dirty lenses reduce image quality. Clean them carefully with proper materials. Related episode 167. Store gear properly. Use a camera bag with padding. Don't leave equipment in hot cars or cold cars or in cars in general, because cars get stolen, don't they? Keep your stuff away from excessive moisture, excessive heat, excessive cold. Use lens and body caps always, and always use a lens hood, always. Service your gear when needed. If something's not working right, get it fixed. Don't continue using damaged equipment, you'll only make it worse. Camera equipment, it's tools for taking photos, isn't it? Tools for making money, tools for creating memories. Whatever it's for, it's valuable. Treat it accordingly. Tip 25, keep practicing and getting better. Keep shooting consistently, regularly. Don't wait for perfect conditions or perfect locations, and think before you take every photo. Photography is a skill. Skills improve with practice. The more you shoot, the better you get. It's that simple, with all the caveats of everything I've said before. Every time you go out taking photos, try to get one great photo, not dozens of mediocre ones. One great one. That focus on quality over quantity, it will improve your photography, and that's faster than any daily target or other goal you might want to set. Consistent practice with deliberate focus on improvement will make you a better photographer faster than anything else. Tip 26, aim to beat your portfolio with every photo. Yes, back on that one. Remember that portfolio of 12 photos I talked about earlier? Use it as your target. Every time you take a photo, aim to take one that's better than one photo in your portfolio. Again, this gives every shoot purpose. You're not just taking photos. You're trying to create something portfolio worthy, something good enough to replace one of your current 12 best photos. Most of the time you won't succeed, and that's fine. But aiming high pushes you to try harder, think more carefully, and take better photos than if you're just shooting aimlessly. And occasionally, maybe once a month, maybe once every 2 months, every year, decade, whatever, you'll take a photo that's good enough, a photo that beats one of your 12. And that's when you update your portfolio and raise your standards again. And when you do, it's a great feeling. Always aiming to beat your own best work is one way to help you grow as a photographer. Tip 27, ignore the noise on social media. Social media is full of bad stuff, photos of places none of us are ever going to get to, over-processed photos, too much talk about gear, too much talk about camera brands, too much look at how wonderful I am, blah, blah, blah. Ignore it all. Ignore all of it. It's all nonsense. Social media, it can be useful for inspiration and learning, but it's mostly noise, it's mostly distraction. Other people's opinions about what you should shoot, how you should shoot, what gear you should buy, what's good photography. None of that nonsense matters. What matters is you taking photos you are proud of, photos that serve your purposes, whether that's documenting your family, building a photography business, or just enjoying a creative hobby. Don't let social media make you feel inadequate because you don't have the latest gear. Don't let it pressure you into shooting what's trendy rather than what interests you. Don't let it convince you that your photography isn't good enough. Social media is a tool to be used, but ignore it the rest of the time. Your photography will be better for it. As you may have gathered, I'm not a fan. Tip 28, finally. Why did that take so long? Use a tripod. Get yourself a tripod and use it. Not occasionally, regularly. See, a tripod transforms your photography in ways you might not expect. Obviously, it keeps your camera steady for sharp photos in low light, helping you with long exposures, landscapes, anytime you want to get everything sharp but you're using small apertures. But there's much more to it than that. A tripod slows you down. It forces you to think about composition more carefully because moving your camera is not as quick and easy as it is when you're shooting handheld, is it? So you're going to compose a bit more deliberately. You're going to check the edges. You can wait for the right moment. You think before you shoot. A tripod, it's a bit of a faff. There's more effort involved, so you need a bit more thought. And it allows you to take the same shot with different settings you can compare later. It helps you if you're doing bracketing of exposures. Tripods, yes, they're a bit of a faff to carry. Yes, they slow you down, but that's the point. Slowing down makes for better photography, and the sharpness you get from a solid tripod beats even the best image stabilization. Get a decent tripod, not the cheapest one you can find, as it's going to be wobbly and useless. Something sturdy that holds your camera steady. Your photos will thank you for it. And check out episode 94 for much more on this. And if you got a tripod, you set your ISO to 100 and you can forget about it because your camera's rock steady. So there's your exposure triangle blown out of the water by the tripod. Perfect. Right, finally, tip 29, enjoy your photography. Yep, finally, and most importantly, enjoy your photography. If you're not enjoying it, what's the point? Photography should be fun, it should be creative, it should be satisfying. Whether it's your profession or your hobby, you should get genuine pleasure from doing it. If photography feels like a chore, ask yourself why. Are you photographing things you don't care about? Are you putting too much pressure on yourself? Are you comparing yourself to others too much? Are you obsessing about gear instead of enjoying the process? Find what makes photography enjoyable for you. Maybe it's a technical challenge. Maybe it's a creative expression. Maybe it's the simple capturing of memories. And maybe it's just about getting out in nature. Whatever it is, focus on that. Photography is too time-consuming and too expensive in money and time cost to do if you're not enjoying it. And life's too short for hobbies we don't enjoy, isn't it? And careers that make us miserable. So enjoy your photography. Take photos that make you happy. Photograph subjects you love. Use whatever gear makes you smile. Share your photos or don't. Whatever brings you joy. But enjoy it. Right, a quick recap. Well, this is the recap of the last 221 episodes of the Photography Explained podcast, isn't it? How utterly splendid. So I can move on. Here's something for you to do, dear listener. Pick 3 tips from today's episode that you're not currently doing. Just 3. Write them down, make them your focus for the next month. Don't try to implement all 29 at once, please don't, that's just overwhelming. Just pick 3 and practice them deliberately, make them habits, and then come back to this episode at some point in the future and pick another 1, 2, 3, whatever. Incremental improvements beats trying to change everything at once. Now, 3 tips a month's a lot, let's be honest, but if you did that, you'd have implemented most things that I've talked about in this episode. And hopefully you'll transform your photography. So start today, pick 3 tips, or just pick 1 if you want, I don't mind. Then go take some photos using them and let me know how you get on. Okay, what if I use a phone to take my photos? Every single one of these tips works with a phone, every single one. 1 photo rule, of course it works on phones. Walking, looking, thinking, yep, just the same. Rule of thirds, you've probably got it on your phone. Shoot in RAW, many camera apps support that. Backing up your photos, you've probably got cloud storage already. So master these tips with your phone and you'll take better photos than most people with even expensive cameras. Because good photography isn't about equipment, dear listener, it's about seeing, thinking and making good decisions. What do? I use all of these tips. Some are so ingrained they're automatic. I don't consciously think about the rule of thirds anymore, I just compose that way. Others, like reviewing my photos critically, require conscious effort. But here's what I'd tell you if you ask me which tip matters the most. They all do, of course they do, but if I had to choose one, it's the 1 photo rule. I love that rule. That single approach, treating every shot as if it's your only one, it forces good photography habits better than anything else. But the tip that keeps me improving, review and learn from your photos. I constantly analyse my work, what worked, what didn't, and why. This self-critique, done honestly but not harshly, it pushes me to try new things and avoid repeating mistakes. And the tip I wish I'd learned earlier, back up your photos. Yes, I nearly lost all my photos once with a major PC failure before I got serious about backups. That was much too close for comfort. My hard drive ran out of space and it all very nearly ground to a horrible, painful halt, but I just recovered the situation. So sort your backups out, please. So use these tips. Use all of them, use any of them, use one of them. They work because they're fundamental truths about photography. They're not trends or gimmicks. These things worked 20 years ago, they work today, and they'll work 20 years from now, hopefully. One more thing, well, this episode represents everything I've learned over a lifetime of photography and shared across hundreds of podcast episodes. But this is the overview, this is the essential foundation. If you want to go deeper on any of these topics, go back through the podcast. I've dedicated entire episodes to composition, camera settings, editing, workflow, all sorts of good stuff. This episode gives you the what, those episodes give you the how and the why. Think of this as your photography foundation. These tips are the core, all the other episodes, they build on this foundation. So master these fundamentals first and then add the advanced stuff. But these tips, these are essential. They're what photography actually is once you strip away all the gear obsession and technical complexity. And most of them are about thinking before you take a photo, aren't they? And that's a deliberate thing that I've repeated that. If you're wondering why I keep on going back to the same thing, that is the fundamental point I want to get across to you, dear listener. Think before you take a photo. Right, next episode. Let's kick off 2026 with this one, episode 223. 5 things we all need to do in 2026 to take better photos. Yes, that's just 5 things, and that follows naturally on from this episode. It's good stuff. I'm not going to tell you what's covered in there because, well, between us, my script's wrong. So, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. Yes, dear listener, if you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss episode 223 and all the other good stuff I've got coming up. And for anything else, check out my website, rickmcavoyphotography.com, where you can find out how to ask a question, how to get a weekly email from me, how to get in touch, and how you can find out more about my splendid photography podcast. Oh yes, and you can text me directly from the podcast feed if you want. And I've got a YouTube channel. Just type Rick McAvoy into YouTube and you'll find me soon enough. And finally, most finally, check out my courses page where you'll find my splendid How to Become a Real Estate Photographer course. rickmcavoyphotography.com/courses. This episode was brought to you by a cheese and pickle sandwich and a Coke Zero. Yes, it really was, which I consumed before settling into my homemade acoustically cushioned recording emporium. I've been Rick McAvoy. Thanks again very much for listening to my small but perfectly formed podcast, it says here, and for giving me 27-ish minutes of your valuable time. Now, I reckon this episode will be about 50 minutes long after I've edited out the mistakes and the bad stuff. Yes, this is a long one. Well, why not, eh? And if this episode is between 20 and 30 minutes long, that's because I ran out of time editing it, so I had to split it into 2. And if I've done that, I will explain on the second episode why. Okay, thanks for listening. Oh, yes. Best wishes for 2026, wherever you are, whatever your beliefs are. I hope 2026 is a splendid year for you. Thanks for listening. Take care. Stay safe. Cheers from me, Rick. How to become a real estate photographer. rickmcavoyphotography.com/courses.